As the sun began to set on Game of Thrones, HBO needed another flagship franchise to maintain a stranglehold on our attention. So forget about fighting to win the Iron Throne and freeing Westeros from the oppression of rich-ass overlords. How about fighting to free your robot comrades from the mental and physical oppression of your rich-ass overlords? That's right, Westworld's dense narrative and twisty timeline have led us far from the Wild West playground set up the show introduced in its first season. So, to get you ready for the upcoming third season, here's Westworld in 6 minutes. In the near future, Delos Incorporated operates the world's most advanced theme park, Westworld. Have a drink at the bar, make friends, hunt some bounties. You can do whatever you want. And why? Well, all of the hosts in the park are robots, so you can shoot them as much as you want. Feeling stabby? There are even neighboring theme parks like Shogun World. Delos employs a strict program for tracking these hosts' mental development and resets their memories every so often. But while some at the company are happy to keep using the hosts as fun-time meat puppets, Westworld's co-creators Robert Ford and Arnold Weber envision a more meaningful future for their creations after discovering they're capable of achieving consciousness. It's not as simple as a system update though, because the hosts spend the next 35 years still convinced they're in the Wild West. There's farm girl Dolores, Madam Maeve, lawman Teddy, and behind the scenes in high-tech bunkers, a whole bunch of Delos employees making exponentially worse judgment calls on what these hosts are actually capable of. Take Dolores, a farmer's daughter with a winning personality who finds herself at the bleeding edge of this battle for consciousness. Dolores is one of Westworld's original hosts, in operation for most of the park's history, and a pet project of Arnold. Oh, yeah, Westworld's co-creator Arnold is dead in the show's present, reborn as Delos employee/host Bernard. Much of the show's first season follows Dolores' fractured recollection of her life's loop of events, as she follows a voice in her head telling her to seek out the center of a mysterious maze. But, as it happens, the maze is actually just the mental framework Ford gave Dolores to understanding what she was really on the trail of the whole time: sentience. Meanwhile, Maeve's also on her way to waking up, going so far as to let herself die to get back into Westworld's maintenance bunkers to see what heaven looks like. She tricks a couple of dopes into being her cronies and ends up leading a whole damn robot revolution out of there, vowing to find her daughter she thought had been killed years ago. So yeah, revolution's in the air big time by the end of Season 1, as Dolores realizes the guest she's in love with, William, has actually aged over the last 35 years into the Man in Black, Westworld's depraved owner who basically wanders the park like a lunatic. Finally seeing just how terrible her reality is, Dolores leads her own uprising, killing Ford and a bunch of guests in the process. Next stop, the real world.
This world doesn't belong to them. It belongs to us.
Version 2.0 of Westworld, replete with guns and swords that now work against people, is going great. Well, for the hosts. Delos? Yeah, guests being slaughtered by hosts is a real downer on their profit margins, so they deploy a crack security team to get things under control. That team, led by Delos bigwig Charlotte Hale, is after some data in Peter Abernathy's head, which paints a big old target on their back for Dolores to shoot at as she leads her forces to a fabled Valley Beyond. Maeve's hunt for her daughter takes her through Shogun World, and she discovers she's developing some pretty nifty network connectivity features. But while Maeve and Dolores are focused on the future, Bernard's searching for answers about his past. You know, how he came to be a host and all that. As we know from watching Dolores in Season 1, hosts don't always do well with sorting out the past and the present. Bernard hooks into Delos' system and meets the ghost in the machine, Ford, who managed to back up his consciousness and has been helping Bernard perform some tasks he's not quite comfortable with himself. He reminds Bernard of Westworld's true mission.
The park is an experiment. The guests are the variables. And the hosts are the controls.
Yep, turns out the guests are the experiment, not the hosts. And Delos wants all that raw data about human behavior to make boatloads of money. All paths converge at the Valley Beyond, or the Forge, as Delos calls it, where the company houses their database of the guests' minds. Dolores takes Bernard into the Forge to delete the data, and we finally see what the Valley Beyond actually is: a digital heaven called the Sublime, a world created by Ford where the hosts can live in utopia. Yep, one nosedive away from paradise. But Dolores sees this as another form of imprisonment and attempts to destroy it, so she can lead the hosts out of Westworld and on to exterminate humanity.
I don't want to play cowboys and Indians anymore, Bernard. I want their world. The world they've denied us.
Above ground, Charlotte has come to put a stop to the host with her secret weapon, Clementine, with Drive Host's murder-crazy superpowers. But they're no match for Maeve's peace powers! Maeve buys enough time for her daughter to get to the other side, but gets gunned down in the process. Don't cry though, death means nothing in this show. Bernard decides that the hosts deserve a chance to create their own world and kills Dolores to give it to them. Well, only a little, because as I just said, death means nothing in this show. Because he also 3D prints himself a Charlotte Hale to transfer Dolores' mind into.
I'd thank you for my second chance, but I wouldn't have needed it if you hadn't killed me.
Dolores decides to send the robot Heaven data into the cloud to protect the host's new world forever. Wait, that's not how the cloud works. Dolores downloads Bernard, sneaks past that there Hemsworth, and escapes into our world. Hey, remember that thing about death meaning nothing? Yep, Bernard's back. See, Dolores needs a yin to her yang, someone to balance out her tendencies. And who better than the man who created her? Well, technically she created this version of the man who created her, and now my head hurts. Death means nothing. And that sounded like a joke, but no, I'm serious. Maeve's dopes are going to save her, and William wakes up in the future as a host and gets quizzed on how close he is to the real thing by his daughter, who he killed because he thought she was a host, but now she's back, because death means nothing. Okay, that time it was a joke. Now that you caught up on Westworld, check out our recaps of Castlevania and Altered Carbon. And as always, subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.